Let's take you to the US because in the next few hours, one of the biggest global moments in sport meets one of the biggest rap stars in the world, and with it, a day that advertisers dream of. The payout must be worth it because the cost of a 30-second commercial is $8 million for the Super Bowl. 120 million people set to watch tonight in New Orleans. Kansas City Chiefs facing Philadelphia Eagles, and has long been the tradition. The star selected for the halftime concert is always the zeitgeist, and tonight is the turn of US rapper Kendrick Lamar. What a week it's been for him, winning 5 Grammys on Monday, including for Song of the Year for Not Like Us, an anthemic track where he disses his rival rapper Drake. We're going to get on to his potted history in a moment. Let's first have a look back at the moment itself, the halftime Super Bowl show in its 59th year.
Purple rain, that's alright. Come on, y'all. Purple rain.
It's the one and only D.R.E.
Dr. Dre, you little busters.
You know I'm riding with the D.O.G.
West Coast, make some noise.
Well, Kendrick Lamar had a brief cameo in the year Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre performed back in 2022, but to be artist headliner, he is seen across the industry as a pinnacle moment. Kendrick Lamar Duckworth, Compton-born, one of the most acclaimed artists of his generation, producing in just over a decade, 5 albums, 4 back-to-back US number ones, 22 Grammy Awards, and seen as a master of wordplay. Let's go to New York. Let's hear his story from root to fruit and bring in Jayson Buford, who is a music writer and journalist for Rolling Stone, GQ, Vanity Fair, New York Times, amongst others. Great to have you on the programme, Jayson. Let's start at the beginning. Born in '87, parents who'd moved to Compton, LA from Chicago. I think they basically had to fight to make things work. A story of a mum and dad working in fast food restaurants, sleeping in a car sometimes as well. And when he was born, it was a tough start, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a tough start. I mean, it's kind of the definitive Black experience for a lot of people, where you move from Chicago to Los Angeles and your parents are not well educated and they're trying to move their way up in the world. And it's very difficult. You know, systemic racism, segregation, poverty. There's a lot of these things that plague a lot of our community. And Kendrick is defined by a lot of that.
And then we go to the school years. As he starts to grow up, his teacher has done some interviews saying he was a bit of a loner. He had a slight stammer, but his teacher had encouraged him to study poetry. So he goes from there to start battle rapping at 12. Is that right?
Yes, he starts rapping at 12, around that time. And around that time is when he also starts hanging out in the streets with his friends. So, you know, his first record, Good Kid, Mad City, is about that time in his life when he was a teenager, 16, 17, still in high school, and the memories that him and his friends have about finding God after a night of street life. And so a lot of his beginnings start where, you know, you have Section 80, for example. There's songs about, or a song called Cartoons and Cereal, where he's talking about growing up and eating Apple Jacks and kind of this power structure that exists in this country and understanding where it comes from, right? He's a really precocious kid at a very young age, where he's like reading Malcolm X and reading Martin Luther King and all these different things. So he has always been a writer.
Which gives you a sense, kind of old school, in a sense that, I mean, a modern sort of album on Spotify that you hear, you can dip in and out. The idea that, you know, those that, you know, love his music say it's like novel-like. You know, go through the whole thing. But take us to 2015, Jayson, which many say is his masterclass moment. To Pimp a Butterfly, considered, which coincided, I should say, with BLM, the Black Lives Matter movement, and his song "All Right" becomes this unofficial anthem for the movement. Let's just take a listen to "We're Gonna Be All Right," and we'll talk about and explain it as to why it became so big afterwards.
They not like us. 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 They not like us.
Okay, they just zipped through history there and going straight to They Not Like Us, which we may as well start with that.
I was about to say, wrong song, guys.
Let's go back. Let's move from there and go back a bit, because this is the zeitgeist song of the moment, and this is about basically a diss track, essentially allegations that Drake says is calling him a paedophile, to which Kendrick Lamar says, quote, this is about the sport of the music, yet it's won him 5 Grammys, and some would say it has taken him to be on stage tonight. What's your take on this?
Yeah, so I'll go back to All Right a little bit. You know, All Right drops in 2015 and like towards the end of the Obama era, where people are still realizing that like racism actually still exists and that it's just not just because Obama's in office, it doesn't mean anything. And so you have All Right, which is not really a hopeful song, but rather a song that says, as a community, we'll get through this issue, right? And so I think that is very prototypical of Kendrick, somebody who really has the backing of the Black community, right? And so you fast forward to now in 2025, Not Like Us comes out, I believe it was June or May it comes out, and it's essentially a song about racial unity in a lot of ways, and about how hip hop is his birthright as a Black man and as a man who comes from these communities that hip hop was birthed in, right? Because hip hop is an oppression art form. And so it's kind of what Kendrick is saying against Drake is that, hey, you Black and Jewish kid from Canada, you cannot accurately represent us in the same way I can. So I think taking that and going to the Super Bowl with it it's astonishing in a lot of ways. It's astonishing for a lot of people to see, because you don't usually see someone who so accurately can describe kind of our racial makeup and our racial politics within the biggest stage as the Super Bowl. So I think for a lot of people, it really matters.
And you don't often see people outside of jazz and classical music winning the Pulitzer Prize for music, and you touched upon it, this contribution to telling the complexities of African-American experience. And we're going to play it because it is so important to the movement. This is We're Gonna Be All Right.
We gon' be all right. Ho! We gon' be all right. We gon' be all right. Ho! We gon' be all right. Do you hear me? Do you feel it? We gon' be all right. Huh? We gon' be all right. Huh? We gon' be all right. Huh? Do you hear me? Do you feel it? We gon' be all.
He's a massive star, but not a conventional star, is he? So, first of all, he has this huge success. I talk about the Pulitzer Prize. He disappears for 5 years. He suffers depression, comes back, gets into this spat with Drake, and also outside of convention in a sense that he's not, he's not a drinker. He's not into drugs. He's very much on a focused mission, telling his own story and being so open about it.
Yeah. I think it's complicated because on some level, yes, this is surprising because he's always been a reluctant superstar, but he's fitting the cape very well and very seamlessly, to the point where I wonder, did he always want to do this?
Yeah.
Right?
And what's the answer?
Because I think it's a little bit of both. I think obviously the beef with Drake renewed a certain competitive fire in his heart after coming off of Morale and Big Steppers, which is such a raw record about his complexities, and it's like about therapy speak, and it's about going to therapy as a Black man in our community. Therapy is not something that's like widely discussed. And so I think for Kendrick, people were slightly shocked that he came out with Like That, and it was out of the blue. It almost feels like an Arthur meme of a verse, where it's like it's out of the blue and you're kind of wondering like, damn, okay, this is sudden and this is new. And I think the beef with Drake renewed this aspect of him where he like wants to be at the top. He named himself King Kendrick on Good Kid, Mad City. And so this halftime show was a coronation of a lot of those things.
Jayson,
to the point where I wonder,
no, you've set
maybe
up.
This is what.
You have set up the perfect hors d'oeuvre with your guacamole, the Doritos, the tortilla chips ready to watch and actually understand the experience a bit more for your average layman tonight. Pleasure to talk to you, the esteemed journalist Jayson Buford in New York. Thank you.